What if you could walk through the world untouched? Not because the world is kind, but because your mind is impenetrable. What if no insult could cut you, no chaos could shake you, no failure could reach the core of who you are? Imagine a life where peace isn't something you find, it's something you carry, a life where your calm isn't conditional, where your energy isn't hijacked by noise, opinions, or moods, where you don't just survive the storm, you become the storm's still center. This isn't motivation. This isn't hype. This is recalibration. The world is loud. It wants your attention. It feeds on your reactions. And most people, they give it all away. Every minute, every mood, every ounce of power. One text ruins their day. One glance sends them spiraling. One rejection becomes their identity. But not you, not anymore. Because from this moment forward, you stop trying to control what you can't. You stop giving power to things beneath your mission. You stop reacting. You start commanding. You see, the real flex isn't controlling others. It's needing to control nothing. Not their approval, not their understanding, not even the outcome. You become the one who moves in silence because silence is strength. Stillness is strategy. And calm is your superpower. True strength doesn't shout. It doesn't perform. It doesn't beg to be seen. It walks into the room and doesn't flinch. It's the man who doesn't explain himself, the woman who doesn't chase applause, the one who smiles when criticized, stays steady when ignored, and keeps building in the dark. This is your new blueprint: emotional discipline, mental stillness, calm power. You were never meant to be reactive. You were born to be responsible, able to respond with precision, with clarity, with purpose. The noise is endless, but so is your control. If you train it, let the world spin, let the fire rise, let opinions clash and distractions scream. You remain centered, grounded, unshaken. That's where your freedom lives. Not in changing the world, but in mastering yourself. Because once you stop trying to control life and start mastering your response to it, you enter a different league. No longer fragile, no longer addicted to reaction, no longer leaking energy chasing shadows. Now you're building power in silence. Now you're cultivating clarity in the storm. Now you're dangerous, not to others, but to limitation. Understand this. The loudest one in the room is rarely the strongest. The strongest one doesn't need to speak at all. True strength is silent, still, and sovereign. Chapter 1. The illusion of control. That belief was comforting. It made you feel safe, like the world would bend to your preparation, like chaos could be managed if you just tried harder. But it was a lie. You can't control the world. You can't control people. You can't control time, the weather, circumstances, or outcomes. You can't even control what happens 5 minutes from now. The world is wild. People change their minds. Plans fall apart. Opportunities vanish. And life moves forward, whether you're ready or not. Trying to control the uncontrollable, that's not power. That's panic. That's anxiety disguised as discipline. Look at your life. How much energy have you wasted trying to grip something that was never yours to hold? You stressed about what might happen. You obsessed over what someone else was thinking. You replayed conversations, rewrote history in your head, all because you thought, if I can control the pieces, I can protect my peace. But it doesn't work like that. The tighter you grip, the more it slips. The more you try to control what's out there, the more you lose control of what's in here. Because here's the brutal truth. Every second spent trying to manage the external is a second lost from mastering the internal. You don't need to control everything. You only need to control 2 things: your actions and your attitude. That's it. That's the whole list. Your job subject to change. Your relationships vulnerable to time. Your reputation built on shifting opinions. Your plans at the mercy of the unexpected, but your response to all of that, yours, always. You want real power. Let go of the illusion. Step back from the need to control everything around you and start commanding what's within you. Because control isn't about force, it's about freedom. Freedom from panic, freedom from overthinking, freedom from the emotional yo-yo of circumstance. You think you're in control when you're managing every outcome, but you're just running from the fear of uncertainty. Here's what no one tells you. You're most powerful when you're okay with not knowing. You're most calm when you've stopped expecting. You're most free when you've stopped gripping so tightly. Let go of the outcome. Master the input. That means mastering how you show up, how you speak, how you think, how you move when nothing is going your way. The chaos won't stop. People will still flake. Plans will still fall apart. You'll still get curveballs, losses, setbacks, surprises. But you don't flinch. You don't crumble when the wind shifts. You don't chase what's outside your lane. You don't panic when life rearranges the board. Because you've stopped playing the wrong game. You're no longer chasing control. You're claiming command, and that changes everything. Suddenly you stop overreacting. Suddenly their words don't shake you. Suddenly their silence doesn't disturb your focus. Because your mood no longer depends on their behavior. Your peace is no longer tethered to performance or permission. This is detachment, not apathy, not giving up. Just finally realizing that real strength isn't about controlling the storm. It's about staying calm inside it. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to change everyone. You don't have to predict, prevent, or perfect every outcome. You just have to be solid. When the room gets loud, stay grounded. When people pull away, stay whole. When things break down, stay disciplined. And yes, it takes practice, because we're conditioned to react, to chase closure, to avoid uncertainty, to freak out when things go off script. But you can rewire all of it. You can learn to pause instead of panic, to breathe instead of break, to stand still while everything else spins. When others are scrambling for control, you sit in the quiet power of surrender, not the surrender of defeat, the surrender of alignment. Surrender to this truth. You were never supposed to control the waves. You were meant to learn how to surf. Let life be what it is. Let people say what they say. Let circumstances unfold how they unfold. And instead of trying to force the world into shape, shape your own response. Because peace doesn't come from certainty. It comes from capability. It comes from knowing, no matter what happens, I can handle it. When you truly embrace that, you stop controlling and you start commanding your thoughts, your breathing, your presence, your response. And that is real strength. The world won't become more predictable. People won't become more stable. Life won't become more fair. But you can become unshakable. Let go of the lie. Release the illusion and walk into your power, not because you control the world, but because the world no longer controls you. Chapter 2, Emotional Reactivity is Modern Slavery. They say you're passionate, but really you're just reactive. You mistake your emotional flinching for power, but it's not power, it's slavery. Every time someone cuts you off in traffic and you erupt, you hand over power. Every time someone ignores your message and you spiral, you hand over power. Every time you see a post online and feel anger rise, you hand over power. Tiny things, but they control you. You don't own your day. A stranger's mood does. You don't own your peace. A notification does. You don't own your energy. Your triggers do. Reactivity is weakness. It's handing the remote control of your mind to anyone who presses the right button. Someone disrespects you, you snap. Someone doubts you, you chase validation. Someone disagrees, you defend yourself endlessly. That's not strength. That's slavery. Because if the world can shake you with a single sentence, you're not grounded, you're not calm, you're not free, you're just a puppet and they're pulling the strings. Understand this. A reactive person is not in control. A reactive person doesn't respond. They obey. Whatever stimulus shows up, they act without thinking. That's not choice. That's programming. Reactivity is an emotional reflex. Someone pokes and you move. No pause, no awareness, no strategy, just motion without meaning. And the cost? It's massive. You lose time, arguing, stewing, overthinking. You lose energy, tired from fake battles that never mattered. You lose clarity, your mind clouded with noise that has nothing to do with your mission. You think you're fighting for yourself, but you're really just fighting for your ego. You're bleeding energy in places that don't deserve your attention. And every time you react, you reinforce the habit. This is how I lose control. But there's a way out, and it starts with awareness. Start catching yourself in the act. The spike of emotion, the urge to clap back, the rush to prove something. Don't stop it, just witness it. Here comes the reaction. Don't resist, just observe, because awareness is the first crack in the system, the first moment where you say, I see it, I don't have to follow it. And that one moment, that's how freedom begins, not by becoming numb, not by pretending not to feel, but by refusing to obey every emotional command that shows up. You don't owe your energy to everything that touches your ego. You don't owe your response to every critic, every fool, every distraction. You owe it to your future to stop giving your power away like it's worthless, because your attention is currency, your peace is protection, and your control, real control, is priceless. So next time something triggers you, ask yourself, am I choosing this, or am I just reacting? And if it's a reaction, pause, breathe, and remember, this is not who I am. This is just a reflex, and I'm not a slave to reflex anymore. Chapter 3, Mastering the Pause. Everything changes the moment you learn to pause. That tiny space between what happens and what you do next, that's where your future lives. That's where you stop being a slave. That's where you take back control. That's where you become who you were built to be. Most people never get there. Something triggers them. They react. Someone says something. They snap. Plans fall apart. They collapse. But the ones who rise, they insert space. They pause. They let the moment breathe so they can breathe too. Because in that space, you get to choose. Not react. Choose. Not obey. Choose. Not explode. Choose. It sounds simple, but it's not easy, because your brain is wired to protect you through speed, fight, flee. It doesn't ask for wisdom. It asks for defense. But you're not a caveman dodging lions anymore. You're a builder, a leader, a creator, and that means you need precision, not panic. So when something hits, don't move. Just notice. Feel the heat rising? Good. That's the spark. Now breathe. Slow, deep, intentional. Watch what happens. The emotion swells, and then it fades. Not because you suppressed it, but because you didn't feed it. You let the wave rise. You let the wave fall. That's what the pause does. It reminds you that emotion is temporary. It reminds you that the first reaction is rarely the right one. It reminds you that silence is not weakness. It's wisdom, and the more you practice this, the stronger it becomes. The more automatic the pause becomes. The more space you build between feeling and action. And in that space, you're no longer a slave. You're the master, master of your mouth, master of your energy, master of your future. So how do you build this pause? Start with breath, simple, grounding, always with you. Inhale slow, hold, exhale slower. This resets the system. It calms the nervous reflex. It buys you just enough space to choose differently. Then observe, without attachment, without panic. Just ask, what am I feeling? Where did it come from? Does this deserve my energy? Write it down if you need to. Journaling is not weakness. It's clarity on paper. It's your mind, unfiltered, seen, cleaned. You'll start to see patterns. You'll catch the loop before it pulls you in. And over time, that pause becomes instinct. Not hesitation, control. Not suppression, command. Because here's the truth. Not everything deserves your energy. Not everything needs your reaction. Not everything is worthy of your peace. Let others flinch. Let others lash out. Let others feed the chaos. You pause. You breathe. you choose. Because you've trained yourself to own the moment instead of being owned by it. That's power. That's presence. That's mastery. And that's how you build a mind that doesn't move with the noise, but stands unmoved in the storm. Chapter 4, Detachment is power. Detachment isn't weakness. It isn't apathy. It isn't cold. It's presence without panic. It's knowing how to let go without giving up. It's holding space between you and the noise so you can see clearly, think sharply, move precisely. Most people think detachment means not caring, but that's wrong. You care deeply. You just don't lose yourself in things you can't control, because caring isn't the same as clinging, and being invested isn't the same as being imprisoned. You're not cold, you're clear, you're focused. You've trained your emotions not to run the show. You've trained your ego not to hijack the wheel. That's power. See, most people live at the mercy of whatever happens next. A bad mood in someone else ruins their morning. A missed call ruins their evening. A comment ruins their confidence. One event flips their whole state, and every time that happens, they get pulled out of peace, out of focus, out of alignment. But not you. You let go of the illusion that you need to react. You let go of the illusion that you must engage. You let go of the belief that every moment needs your emotional signature. That's detachment, not numbness, not running away, but standing your ground so the storm passes through you, not into you. Think of the boxer. He gets hit again and again, but does he flinch? Does he stop to argue? Does he take it personally? No. He keeps moving, focused, breathing, present. Not because the punch doesn't hurt, but because he doesn't serve the pain. He serves the mission. Now think of the firefighter. Walking into flame, smoke, collapse. Does he panic? No. He breathes. He thinks. He acts. Because panic doesn't save lives. Composure does. Apply that to your life. People will test you. Situations will poke at your buttons. Fear will visit. Criticism will land. Doubt will whisper. Let it all pass through. Because the one who can feel without flinching, care without crumbling, love without losing control, that person is untouchable. And here's where the work begins. Start with your triggers. What rattles you? What makes your chest tighten? What comments keep you up at night? Write them down. Expose yourself on purpose. If being ignored bothers you, put yourself where you're overlooked. If being rejected stings, apply where you might not be accepted. If criticism shakes you, read it, learn from it, and stay grounded. This is not self-punishment, it's self-liberation. Because the more you can face your triggers without reacting, the less they control you. And when nothing controls you, you own yourself. That's detachment. That's power. That's peace earned through presence, not escape. So when life throws the punch, you don't flinch. You breathe. You stay. You remain. Not because you're numb, but because you've trained your soul to stay steady when everything else shakes. That is rare. That is powerful. That is Chapter 5. The warrior mindset. Stillness and chaos. That's the rarest strength on earth. Not the loudest man, not the most aggressive, but the one who moves with calm in the middle of a fire. That's the one who wins. Think like a warrior. A warrior doesn't scream. A warrior doesn't panic. A warrior doesn't chase the fight. He studies. He listens. He waits. And when it's time, he acts with intention, not impulse. That's who you become. You stop fighting every battle. You start choosing the war. You stop proving yourself. You start preserving yourself. Because the ones who win don't move the most. They move best. They move when it counts. In a world addicted to reaction, you practice restraint. In a room full of noise, you choose silence. While others search for attention, you walk in with presence, and people feel it. Because true power isn't performed, it's carried. Look at the greats, athletes, soldiers, leaders. They don't react, they respond. They don't panic, they prepare. They don't lash out, they lean in. When the pressure hits, they don't collapse. They rise because they've trained for it. They've lived in pressure. They've failed in the dark. They've bled in silence. So when the world is watching, they stay steady. That's what you build, through discipline, through repetition, through daily moments where you could react, but don't. Every ignored insult, a rep. Every delayed comeback, a rep. Every calm breath instead of angry word, a rep. And it adds up. It rewires your nervous system. It trains your mind to stay sharp while others go soft. It builds your reflex into stillness, not because you're passive, but because you're too powerful to flinch. Start today. Notice your next trigger. Pause. Own the moment. Then do it again and again. Not perfectly, but persistently. That's how warriors are made. Not on the battlefield, but in the small daily wars no one sees. The battle to stay quiet when ego wants to speak. The battle to stay focused when distractions beg for you. The battle to keep building when validation never comes. That's warrior work, and it's yours now. So step in, stand tall, and stay still, because storms come for everyone. But warriors never kneel to the wind. Chapter 6, Protecting Your Peace. Peace isn't a soft thing. It's not passive. It's not fragile. It's not some candlelit spa day fantasy. Real peace is strategy. It's a shield, not a pillow. It's the decision to stay untouchable in a world that profits from your panic. If your peace breaks easily, you're easy to control. One insult ruins your mood, you're easy to manipulate. One text triggers your anxiety, you're already compromised. True peace is not the absence of noise. It's the refusal to let noise inside. It's an internal lockdown, a border around your energy, a firewall around your attention. You can be in the middle of chaos and still remain clear. If you've built peace on purpose, that's the key. Peace is built. It's guarded. It's earned. You don't stumble into it. You choose it. And to protect it, you need boundaries. Not just physical ones. Mental, emotional, digital. Where does your energy leak? Where does your time vanish? Where does your mind spiral? Plug every hole. Stop giving attention to things that drain you. Stop replying out of guilt. Stop explaining yourself to people who misunderstand you on purpose. Here's the mantra. Not everything requires my reaction. Not every invitation is worthy. Not every conflict is yours to enter. Not every comment deserves a response. Let them think what they want. Let them talk. Silence is your sword. Stillness is your stance. Because nothing confuses the enemy more than your refusal to flinch. Now build your peace plan. When will you disconnect? What do you consume and what do you block? Who drains you and who strengthens you? Where do you go to recover? Know the answers. Make it sacred. You defend your peace the way a warrior defends ground, fiercely, without apology. Because if you lose peace, you lose clarity. And if you lose clarity, you make mistakes. But if you keep peace, you keep power. You move slower, you move smarter, and you become unstoppable. Chapter 7, Indifference to Noise, Devotion to Purpose, Purpose. Over popularity. Every time. When you're clear on the mission, you stop chasing approval, you stop explaining yourself to the crowd, you stop editing your truth to fit someone else's comfort. Because you're not here for attention, you're here for alignment. You know what breaks most people? Rejection, criticism, disapproval. They hear a no and crumble. They get misunderstood and panic. They lose favor and lose themselves, but not you, because you've trained yourself to feel the noise and stay indifferent to it. Let them doubt you. Let them mock you. Let them misread your silence. That's not your problem. You're not moved by surface reactions. You're anchored to something deeper. You don't live for applause. You live for execution. You don't post for validation. You move in purpose. You don't react to gossip. You refine your mission. Silence becomes your language. Composure becomes your message. Your presence says more than words ever could. And when pressure shows up, you run the test. Does this serve my mission or distract from it? That's the framework. It's not about feelings. It's about focus. Does this response move me closer to my vision? Or does it feed my ego and waste my time? Most emotional responses are traps. They feel righteous, but they steal momentum. So you choose what matters, not your pride, not your popularity, but your path. And yes, people will misunderstand. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you've gone cold. They'll say you're distant. That's fine, because your loyalty is no longer to their comfort. It's to your calling. And that's how leaders are built, not through agreement, but through alignment. But through alignment with distraction, with overstimulation, with your own mind. The battlefield is internal. The weapon is focus. The target, clarity. And you're being attacked every second. Ads pulling your attention. Feeds rewiring your dopamine. Notifications fragmenting your thoughts. Algorithms hijacking your self-worth. You think it's harmless. It's not. It's warfare. Because the real cost of distraction isn't just time, it's identity. The more you scroll, the less you remember who you are. The more you chase the noise, the less you hear your intuition. So you fight back. You cut the noise. You reclaim attention like it's stolen treasure. Because it is. Start simple. Digital fasting. Pick hours. No inputs. No scrolling. No noise. Let your brain recalibrate. Let your mind find stillness again. Then sharpen the edges. Energy audits what drains you, what inflates you, what steals hours and gives nothing back. Cut it. The brain is not designed for 100 open tabs. The soul is not built for infinite comparison. You need margins, silence, mental hygiene. You can't build clarity on a cluttered mind. You want to win this war. Here's the strategy. They set strict rules for tech. Protect the first and last hour of your day. Don't check your phone before you check your mission. Don't consume before you create. And when the fear loops come, you meet them with breath. You meet them with awareness. You say, not today, because this war isn't won by noise. It's won by presence, by discipline, by choosing your mind over the machine. Focus is your sword. Stillness is your armor. Clarity is your victory. So step into the silence, not to escape, but to take command. Chapter 9, Becoming Untouchable. You don't rise by accident. You rise by discipline. If you want to be unshakable in the storm, you train in the calm. Daily mental training. This is your edge. Breath work. Reset your nervous system. Learn to breathe through discomfort. Learn to meet shock without flinching. A solitude. Learn to face yourself without distraction. That's stoic response. That's leadership under pressure. That's steel wrapped in stillness. You walk into chaos, and people calm down just by watching you, because you don't react. You assess. You breathe. You hold. People follow the most grounded person in the room. Be that, and that takes ritual. Morning. Before the world can tell you who you are, tell yourself. Silence. Movement. Breath. No noise. No opinions. No reaction. Command the morning. Own the tone. Evening. Audit the day. What stole your energy? What kept you strong? What did you learn? Write it. Reflect on it. Sleep like a warrior. Wake like a weapon. This is how Untouchable is built. Not with hype, not with bravado, but with repetition, structure, stillness. You're not immune to pain. You've just trained through it. You've been in fire and didn't flinch. Now you walk through life, and nothing pulls you off center. You don't chase validation. You don't flail for reaction. You stand, solid, quiet, clear, untouchable. The world told you otherwise, that you are your anxiety, that your anger defines you, that you should act on every impulse just because it's loud. But that's not ownership. That's slavery in disguise. When you don't own your emotions, they own you. And when they own you, so does everyone who can trigger them. That ends now. There's a shift from reactive to grounded, from emotional reflex to emotional command. You stop identifying with what you feel in the moment and start aligning with who you are becoming over time. You say, I am not what I feel. I am what I choose. That becomes your compass. Anger comes. You choose how to use it. Fear whispers. You choose if it speaks. Sadness lingers. You choose what it fuels. You're not fighting your emotions. You're leading them. This is what it means to live free. You move on purpose. You speak from clarity. You make peace your power, not your reward. No more over-explaining. No more defending your calm. No more surrendering your mood to other people's chaos. You own your breath. You own your space. You own your decisions. That's sovereignty. And now, time to live it out. Train every day. Start small. Repeat often. Sharpen your response, not your reaction. Lead with presence. Let your silence speak louder than noise. And let your stillness be your greatest storm. You're not becoming a machine. You're becoming the master of your own mind. That's the real freedom. That's what they can't touch. You own yourself now. Something real. Something sharp. Something sovereign. You began this journey. Fragile. Reacting to everything. Pleasing everyone. Drained by drama. Obsessed with control. Now, you are fortified. Where there was chaos, there is still power. Where there was noise, there is silence. Where there was emotion running wild, there is choice. From reactive to responsive, from scattered to precise, from emotional to untouchable. You no longer get pulled by the tide. You are the ground people stand on. You no longer chase peace. You carry it. You are no longer ruled by your mind. You command it. Final image. A man standing in the middle of the fire, unmoved, breathing, leading. Others panic. He does not. Others flinch. He does not. Why? Because he has trained. Because he has owned himself. Because he has done the work no one else was willing to do. And now he leads others out of the fire. That's you. Not by chance. Not by accident. But by discipline. By presence. By practice. So here is your final challenge. Begin your practice. Today you stop giving your power away. Today you stop flinching. Today you become what you were always meant to be. Calm, clear, controlled. Not because the world is easy, but because you are finally ready. Let them bring the storm. You are the stillness.